Well, everybody, this is Dr. Sharon Livingston, and I'm here with a friend and colleague, Bob Magadoff, who is quite a remarkable man. He's had an interesting journey in his career, going from working in Fortune 50 corporations in marketing to creating his own company where he has alternative remedies for some really almost universal health problems that we in the United States deal with all the time, as well as people all around the world. Bob, thank you so much for coming on our little podcast series, and welcome. I am so delighted to be able to share you with the people who follow us, because you have discovered some really remarkable alternative health remedies that I'd love you to talk about.
Thank you, Sharon, and I appreciate you having me on your program.
First of all, tell people what it is that you offer, and then we'll find out how you came to them.
I'm just like everybody else. I'm a baby boomer. I'm going to be 65 in a couple of weeks. I was developing health issues just like my peers were. And I was not satisfied with the way the doctors were treating me. They were throwing drugs at me when I wanted to know what the source of the problem was. I decided to resign my position at Honeywell and basically start my own business and take the knowledge that I've had in doing a lot of research. I've been involved in natural products for a long, long time. When I lived in Los Angeles, my personal doctor some 30 years ago was Julian Whitaker, who's basically the founder of the natural products industry, him and Dr.
Wow.
Wiles. So he got me into vitamins and stuff. So I started looking at this market, and because of my background, I had a friend at Gardner, which is probably the best research company in the world, and we looked at the marketplace. And the marketplace was telling us, number one, that the biggest users of nutritional products were the baby boomers, the people that were aging and wanted to stay young differently than their parents, who basically looked at doctors as gods, and whatever the doctor said went, and they were all living on medication. And our whole look into the world around us was, we can make it better, we can make ourselves better, we can make ourselves healthier, and we can stay younger and enjoy our lives as we go into our retirement years. So that's what I did, and we found that the three main areas that were of interest were in the cardiovascular: the blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. So that's what we started doing. I spent a couple of years before I even opened up the company looking at how products interacted in nature, and that's one of the things we use very readily in our formula development. I spend a lot of time in clinical research bank, which is called Natural Standards. It's the same research bank that's used by the National Institute of Health, the Mayo Clinic, and all those top research. And what it does is shows me all the natural product clinicals in the world. There's over 10,000 of them, and they come every day. And I've developed relationships with different clinicians from around the world, and they work with us in developing different modalities to help people with blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. One of the things that we do differently than everybody else is that we don't have one formula that resolves all problems. What we did is we made up three formulas with three different types of product groupings inside, ingredient groupings inside, and then we mix and match it depending on what stage a person is at with their issues.
What was the first area that you addressed?
Hypertension, because that was a problem that I have. From traveling all over the world, I developed altitude illness, and altitude illness makes you have chronic hypertension.
I had no idea.
What happens is you're up in an airplane at 6,000 feet, and then your arteries start to spasm. It's hereditary in my family, so my grandfather had it and his father had it. So I had it, but I wasn't paying too much attention to it, but every time I came off a transatlantic or a trans-Pacific flight, I had the worst headaches in the world. And then finally, when I was in Hong Kong one day, I decided that I had it so bad I couldn't even see, my eyes were blurry, that I went to a doctor, and I wound up I had blood pressure of 220 over 105.
Oh, my goodness.
The doctor there says, I have a friend across the border in China who specializes in hypertension. I grabbed my passport and went over to his clinic. It was about an hour north of Hong Kong. And he handed me these little pills that he developed called BP Balance. And this was in 1991. And I started taking them. When I got back to the States, I checked my blood pressure when I got off the plane, and it was 125 over 78 or something like that. It was back to normal.
Wow.
So I started taking these little pills. And when I started the Geromatrix, after I came out of Honeywell, I used that. I called him and I said, can I sell this in the United States? And he said, yes. And that's how I started the company.
Wow.
With these little, tiny little pills from China.
Are there any contraindications to them?
No, that's what the good thing is. And doctors have been telling me that they can give the BP even along with medicines. I have several doctors that use it along with Diavan and Norvasc.
Really?
It basically relaxes the cardiovascular system. In simplistic terms, what it does, it gives the fibers that hold the system together, it makes them relax. Just by using simple plants, they use the flowers, the stems, the roots of medicinal plants. It's all Chinese medicine in this particular formula. And what we do is we use Chinese concepts, we use Ayurvedic concepts, and we use European concepts. We also mostly use European standardized herbs because they're highly regulated.
You said that there were 3 products in the array. So you've got the BP Balance.
We have BP Balance. We have a product called Contrapress. And then we have another product called Hyperten. The way our program goes for borderline hypertension or blood pressure issues, and the doctors basically showed us how to do this, the doctors who take our products, they start with Contrapress, and then they'll go to BP Balance, and then they'll go to Hyperten, and then they'll go to a combination of Hyperten and Contrapress, and then the strongest version we have is a tri-pack, which is a combination of all 3, the BP Balance, the Hyperten, and the Contrapress. And some people are using the BP Balance and the Hyperten together also and finding great success. I need all 3.
How do these 3 products differ?
Contrapress is made up of a combination of Chinese herbs and European standardized herbs. The 3 main ingredients in Contrapress are Bonita fish peptide, which acts like an ACE inhibitor, magnesium, which also acts like an ACE inhibitor. It's actually a muscle relaxer. And holly berry extract, which is used in Asia for lowering blood pressure. Those are the 3 main ingredients in that particular product. In Hyperten, we went around the world and we found every ingredient that is used in different natural environments that control hypertension and blood pressure. That is a very complex product that we put together, and probably the best product we put together. Its synergy with BP Balance is unbelievable. We didn't realize it when we developed it that we would have such synergy with it.
What does Hyperten have in it, and what does it do?
A Hyperten basically nourishes the cardiovascular system to add elasticity back to the arteries. And it also very gently relaxes the arteries. We use products that come out of Asia, Russia, Europe, South America. It's a combination of different products. Individually, each ingredient actually worked at lowering blood pressure by itself.
The reason that I wanted to have this interview with you, Bob, is because I have personally seen results with BP Balance. I went through a very stressful period where my blood pressure was like 169 over 90, and I'm usually like 110 over 70, and the BP Balance would bring it right down. I think it's wonderful that there's something like that to tell people about.
One of the things that we try to do is make our clients healthy so they don't have to buy this anymore.
Right.
And then we can get them onto some of our green products that we have that are just for anti-aging and just for general health. That's my goal, is to basically get everybody back to where they were when they were younger. And one of the things that we don't do as a society, and our doctors don't do, is create markers when we're in our 20s and 30s, when we're in our ultimate health, so we have a point at which we can go back to and say, okay, this is where we have to be. Nobody does that.
Right.
It totally saddens me. If I was in medicine, I'd be getting markers of where everybody's hormone levels are, where all their readings are, and keep them there and track them. What happens is people move around the country and they lose medical records. So people that are in their 50s and 60s probably don't have medical records from when they were in their 20s. So they have no basis of which to go back to.
So what did you discover in the hypertin?
In the hypertin, we use Arjuna, we use Indian snake root, we use lotus embryo, we use deer antelope velvet, we use holly basil extract in there, we use dashan root, which is being used all over Europe right now. It's a hot new product. And the secret of the little ingredient that we threw into it was unprocessed pure cocoa powder.
Huh.
There's so much research on dark chocolate. Pure cocoa is dark chocolate. And there's an ingredient inside that dark chocolate which is beneficial to the cardiovascular system, which is one of the reasons that Europeans, especially the French and the Belgians who eat all this chocolate, this dark chocolate, are so healthy. Even though they eat things that on our side of the pond we say are no good for you. They can enjoy desserts, we can't.
What are the green products you want to get them back to? We haven't discussed that.
We're working on some new technology of using nature as a way of rejuvenating cells. And we're getting into the phytonutrient world. You feed your cells, which are rejuvenated every 90 days, the proper nourishment that the new cells that are born are stronger than the old cells that are dying off. So basically you reverse the aging process. You have to